Welcome to a quick view of my scroll slider, which I've now managed to complete version 1.4, which has fixed a few things from 1.3, and if you don't know the slider yet, this will be an introduction to all the working bits. So as you can see, we're in Breakdance as normal. I have a scroll slider set up and pretty much we are Breakdance, so everything works as you would expect. I will quickly delete this so that you can see how quick and easy it is to put it together. Add it like you would any other element from Breakdance. You can go up to our search bar and type SCR, and there's our scroll slider. It puts two slides in to get you started, and now I'm just going to move it up between these two sections. These are two blank sections of 100 viewport height, so you can see they'll just give me some room to scroll up and down so you can see the horizontal movement. So if we go to the scroll slide to start with, just so that we can get something up and we can see what's happening. These slides work in the same way as any other Breakdance element. They are more or less a section, so you can use your flex layout and center as you would with any other. And just to be nice and easy, I could show you the sizing and spacing and dividers and all that, but we all know what they work like, I hope. So I'm just going to stick images into the background of my slider so that we can see the slides and when one moves to another. So here's my second slide. You can see you have a scroll bar in the builder to be able to move backwards and forwards to the sides. I did have it working in the builder, but I found that it was a little bit slow, just having to scroll horizontally past it in order to get to any other sections once you've finished your slider. So it was just quicker and easier to stick a scroll bar in there. I will probably have a look and see if I can make it work in the builder in a better way, or perhaps add a button that gives you the option of switching it on and off. But for the time being, you can get to your slides using this scroll here, and you can then click on your slide like with anything else. I'm going to choose another background, and I've had a violin. Let's have a ukulele lying in the grass for no reason. And again, think of this a bit like a slider. You've got the ability to copy a slide, and now I have a duplicate slide, and I can go to the background once again and change my ukulele, and let's have a piano because it's not all strings, man. And you can also come here, if you go to the scroll slider itself, and then over here you can see you've got a slide button, so you can add a scroll content slide, and I now got 4 of them. It's very exciting stuff. Let us change the background to that slide, and what shall we use? A guitar. No, let's have a banjo. There we go. So we have many stringed instruments, and we can have a look. There we go. We've got headings, we've got images. There you go. So we now actually have a working slider. I can just save that now, and if I go here, we've got my page that we can look at. It's obviously looking a bit blank, but that's because the slider's down there so that we can have a look at it scrolling down and then scrolling across. And this is set as just a basic vertical slider that goes horizontal and then goes vertical. There's no fancy effects, there's no special whatnots, but there will be in a minute. So there you go. Straight out of the box, you now have a vertical section that you can do almost anything you can do with a normal section. You can put video in the background and all sorts of stuff, but I'm going to just leave you to play with that, and we'll look at the things that are particular to the scroll slider. So, looking at the most important couple of things. 1, sticking. This is basically your main behavior, and I should explain before I go too far that all of these controls are fairly open. You can put meaningless things in them if you want to. I had a choice. I could try and calculate or work out exactly how I only allowed the right values, but it's also complicated. So you can't break anything by putting values in, other than the fact that your page might look blooming awful. But you won't break your website or your Breakdance or anything else. You'll just have a garbage looking screen. If you do something, for example, like sticking position 200%, your scroller will stick to 100% off the viewport. So you won't even see it, and it'll be scrolling and your screen will be stuck and you'll be going, why is this happening? So, sensible answers only, as it were, and I leave it to you. Stick position then. What we basically got is, where is this going to stick to? And at the moment it's 0. Looking at GSAP works in the top and left. So if you're looking at vertical, you're going up and down the screen, anything vertical is going to be in relation to the top of the screen. Therefore 0 is the top of the screen and 100 would be the bottom of the screen. Later in a second we'll look at position start and end. This is when, if we have any fancy effects, this is where they take place. At the start and the end, obviously by the time we hit the scroller, we're going to be moving sideways. So if you're looking at horizontal movement, then horizontal movement, as it says here, is from the left. Position is percentage distance from the left. So if I want my special effects to start halfway along the screen, then I put 50, and that would be halfway along the screen. So I'm going to start with a nice full size stuck at the top of the screen, stuck top of the element, and I'll come back to that in a minute to make it clear why you have that. Our speed we'll leave it normal, but know that we have sleepy and slow, normal, fast and silly fast. We'll have a look at those as well. We also have types of scroller. So scrolling slider is what you just saw. It just goes left and right, doesn't do anything exciting. A snapping slider does what it says really, it snaps from slide to slide. And effects, we'll have a look at that in a second. That basically will allow you to do fancy things like stretch and skew the slides as they come into the screen. The rest of these then will relate to effects. So actually, why not? Let's just stick an effect on. We'll go to effects. What kind of effect do we want? So let's say we're going to scale the X value of our slide. So we have scroll type effects, effect type scale X. Again, I'm going to try not to get too complicated. You cannot have easing on an effect. GSAP, which is the library we use, the one built into Breakdance, it just doesn't allow it. And there are very good reasons for it that are so very boringly technical, I won't go on about it. But you can set it, it just won't do anything because it's not supposed to. But I haven't yet worked out all the permutations of when I should hide and show boxes, so it does no harm it being there. So we say effect start, that is going to be what is my transform going to look like at the beginning. So as we see here, look, follow the CSS rules. Opacity is 0 to 1, so 0 is invisible, 1 is fully visible, no transparency applied. And then rotate and skew are by degrees. So you could rotate 720 degrees and it would turn several circles on the way up. So what we're going to do with scale X is make it small. So 0.01 is 1% of, that's Breakdance doing it, so I'm going to be annoying with decimal thing. So the effect start is 0.01. It's going to be very tiny at the start. It's going to be all squashed up. And then the effect end, we want it full size. So that makes a lot of sense. If we then save that, and again go back to the front of our website and refresh it, when we go through our slides, you can see that it's very thin, and then suddenly pops out. All right. Now it looks a little bit awful, and it's supposed to, so don't worry. I'm going to show you how to fix that because that's half the point. So why doesn't it look quite right? Because we haven't set a position. So it doesn't know when to come in and when to go out. So what we want to do is we want to say, remembering it's from the left, 100% from the left, in other words, at the right hand edge of the screen, we want to start our effect. And we want it to be complete by the time we reach 50, which is halfway. So we're going to start scrolling, and we'll start our effect rather at the far right of the screen. And we're going to save again. So, and then we're going to refresh. And it's not going to look quite right, but this is one step at a time. So this is the heading, and now, boom, it starts at the right hand edge of the screen, and by the time we reach halfway it's full size. So it's quite nice. It's a bit weird, but it's quite nice. But how do we make it less weird? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Breakdance Builder, and you can see here that we've got origin. So the origin, if it's X, it's left and right, and 0 is left. So this is the origin of our slide. So this is our slide, this is the bottom left of our slide, this is the top left of our slide, and so on. So if I wanted to say the left hand side of the slide, here I can put 0, and now instead of the slide opening up from the middle, it's going to open up from the left hand edge. So let's just see what that does. Let's save that, pop back, open our slider, and refresh our page. So now when we scroll up, we see that it sticks to the left hand edge, which means it sticks to the slide before and makes it look sort of like it springs out, boing, and stretches out. It's quite nice. Yeah, look. So the reason why I did that in stages, to show that it looks blooming awful to start with and then looks rather marvellous to finish with, is that is kind of the point. And there's quite a few different effects. I'll show you another one. So scale, you've got opacity, which is obviously fade in. No point in showing you that, we know that. Scale will scale the X and the Y values. I mean, let's just pick scale, because then we can leave everything else the same, and save that. So we could scale the whole item. Let's refresh our page and scale. You can see, look, it's small and it's growing, and there it is. And again, I've snapped it to the left, or sorry, the origin is to the left, so it sticks, so it's always in view. If I didn't do that, it would appear in the middle of the screen and look weird. So if you do add an effect and think to yourself, okay, what's my effect? Why is it looking so terrible? One reason might be that it's terrible, because you're free to do what you like with these effects. But if you do something like skew, I can't quite get my head around skew, I'll be honest with you. If I skew by 30, it looks beautiful. If I skew by 40, it looks so bad I can't even begin to speak. So let's try 30, a skew of 30, and then a skew of nothing when we finish off. What I'm going to quickly do is just remove the start and end. So instead of, sorry, not remove the start and end, what am I doing? Start and end, I'm going to remove the origin. So it just starts from the middle of the object. So if I save that, you'll see what that looks like. Again, refresh the screen, up we go, and as our thing comes in, you see it folding down like that. Okay, so I mean, actually it doesn't look too bad, if I'm honest with you. But we have got some control over that. So if we say again that we're going to have the origin, maybe let's try something different. Let's try the bottom of the element on the left hand side. Mostly I guess it's probably going to be the left, but who knows, you might find a creative reason to make it right. And we refresh that. When we come in this time, you can see where it is, and it's skewed over the top of our image, but it's pinned to the bottom left of the slide. So you think, well, okay, that's nice, but obviously that doesn't work. Let's say effect start -30, and then save that and refresh our screen. And when we come in, instead of being over the top of it, you see it splump comes in and just sort of snaps to it there. Sort of looks quite nice, like it folds in. So again, this is not a set of ready-made effects that you're just going to go, oh, I'll just make that, I don't know, where it comes in looking like a fancy river of marvellousness. These are effects that you sort of build yourself. So it is possible to make them look terrible, but a little bit of creative thinking and you've got quite a lot of effects, and some of them can look absolutely marvellous. Let's just show you up and down, just for fun, because again, it makes a point. Up and down, the effects start, well now we're talking about percentages. So our effect 100 to 0, because we want to start 100% out of the way and then work to 0. If I go here and refresh the screen, as I scroll in, you can see that it's 100% off the screen downwards, and then it scrolls up to meet as we go across. So I could get it to scroll like that, or if I go origin Y, not origin Y, position, sorry, position -100 and save it. And when I go back to my screen, I find, no, I've made an error. There you are, see? This is what I mean. You do things and you think that should work, and then realise that that's not the way to do it at all. It needs to work a different way. And honestly, it's because I'm probably, frankly, too tired to be doing this. The effect start is the -100. In fact, I'd made the position off the screen, so the animation started by the time it had gone out of view. That's why you couldn't see it. Let's just refresh that. And there we are, dropping down from the top. So, you know, don't be like me. Remember what the buttons and numbers do. Anyway, I really quite like it. And I'm very much hoping you do too. So, that is a very quick look at effects. One of the things that can help with effects is that down here, you've got the option of showing markers so that you can see what's going on. It's a GSAP thing. And when you switch it on, what you'll find is down here, you've got scroller end FX2. There's actually two scrollers there. You can see the numbers overlapping because, again, our slides are next to each other. But if you just look at this, you've got the start of the slide, vertical, and then horizontal. You can see when the stroller's going to start and when it's going to end. So if you get weird effects or you're not sure quite what's going on, you can switch markers on and it will help you keep track of maybe why things aren't working, what they think they're doing. And again, there you go. Look, this is the end of our scroller. So when that hits the top of the screen, we go back to being vertical. I found it very helpful, so I stuck it in there. Second thing is you've got a hide effect on mobile. That does two things. It hides the effects on mobile, obviously, but also prefers reduced motion. So if you don't want people having to see too much clever stuff, it will turn itself back into a basic horizontal slider. One of my big dreams is to get it to collapse on mobile so that it stops being a horizontal slider altogether. But I think maybe that's version 3. I don't know. It's certainly not version 1.4 because that's going to be a bit of work. That. Right, so that's all very nice, I think. Let's just see a couple of other things because it'll help understand what it's doing. Why is there an anchor? I hear you cry. So not all of our sliders are going to be full height. If we go to our scroll slider and then we come over here to the style, let's say we want our slider to be 25 viewport height. So that is going to be 1/4 of the height. And it doesn't necessarily make sense to want to stick that to the top of the screen. We might want to stick it to the middle of the screen. So we can say, okay, actually in the middle of the screen, 50%. However, our slider is 25% tall, which means we have to adjust because it will stick. I'll show you. It'll stick to the middle of the screen, but it'll look slightly off because we haven't accounted for the height of our slider. But you can see everything comes in. Now it cuts stuff off. It's not going to be very forgiving. If you put huge things in a tiny slider, they're just not going to appear. So that's down to you. You can change the padding on the slider. You can do all sorts of things to compensate for how that's working. So yes, again, I'm going to be lazy because I've been completing this slider and programming for flipping hours and my brain doesn't work. So I'm going to set the height to 50, which means if I come here, I know that if I set it to 25, then that's -1/2 the container height. If I then come back in here, then it now sticks and looks like it's in the middle of the screen. And actually all of our stuff lines up too. So that's very nice. However, do we really want it to stick to the top of the screen, the bottom of the screen, but whatever? We want this to stick to the bottom. Let's say we want that. Let's go in here, and in this section here, we're just going to add an image to the background. And I'm going to add something completely different than Orid because it will help contrast with what we're doing. So now we've got a beach. Isn't that nice? So let's say this is our main website, and we're going to have a nice, like, hero section for our website, and let's go there. There we are. And when we get here to this point, we want this to stick because it would look quite nice, wouldn't it? So if we go back again to our scroll slider and our stick position, remembering that it's always going to be from the top. It's kind of, do I really want to have to work out that my slider is 30% high, therefore my stick position should be 70? You know, I don't know. I don't anyway. So stick position 100 sticks it to the bottom, but obviously if I stick it to the bottom, it's going to be about there where I won't be able to see it. So instead of sticking the top of the container, let's stick the bottom of the container to 100%. If we do that, save it yet again, and rush around to our hero section. Lovely beach scene. Then when we scroll, it sticks to the bottom of the viewport perfectly, and you don't have to worry about calculating heights and sizes, because you can actually set the height of this slider in pixels if you want. I'm just very lazy and haven't. Okay, so that you've seen some of the effects, and like I say, the effects you've got are opacity, so how transparent it is, what size it is altogether, what size it is just on the x-axis, and then on the y-axis you've got the skew. You can rotate it. I'm not sure I can imagine why anybody would do that. It looks awful. But, you know, might as well stick them in, you never know. And then up, down, which will move a section up and down. Again, for a later version, I'm going to have a look at whether I can do things like transitioning colours as we scroll, but I don't know. I'm probably going to put it out and see if anybody thinks that's a useful thing to add. I have 2 other plugins, one of which does that sort of thing anyway, so who knows. Anyway, what I'd like to show you now is those are the effects. This is the snapping. Now with snapping you can have easing, and I'll just quickly show you now because I found it helpful occasionally. If you go down to the help section, it tells you a little bit about what I've been saying. Since we're using GSAP, you need to know about the transforms and opacities and what it all means. There's also an easing guide. If you click on the easing guide, it's very handy. It takes you to the GSAP website where it will show you a couple of examples and this marvelous thing here, which is your ease visualizer. Marvelous. So what kind of easing do we want? Let's have a look. We've got the elastic here. So that shows you that the elastic wobbles about a bit and then settles itself down. That's because it's elastic out. So on the way out it doesn't do it. But you can have it elastic on the way in and on the way out. Bodoing. There we are. Isn't that marvellous? You can have sine, which is a slow curve. So again, whatever. You've got a link at the bottom. It will show you all the different ways in which you can add an ease. So I've done that now. If we go back up, if you look at what easings you've got exactly the same selection here. You can have elastic. Let's put that on. Sometimes they look blooming terrible, but better to have them. You might find a way of making them look gorgeous. Ease type, do I want to ease in? I have found most of the time easing out is better than in and out or in. Out seems to work quite well generally. Now again with easing and with snapping, it's not really relevant. These are not effects. So your effects start and end. You can put them in if you want, but they won't do anything. Your position start and position end, not so much. So yeah, let's save that. We've now got a snapping elastic out kind of transition. Again, at normal speed. I'll change that as well in a minute so we can see what it does. Let's go and have a look and see what that's done to our section at the bottom. Boing! Yes, like I said, elastic. It's kind of terrible. It's way too much. But you know, what you can sometimes find is if you go in and you say, well, that's a bit much, but let's make it sleepy slow, and then see what that does to our animation. And then actually I'm probably going to be sick before I can see that too often. Anyway, like I said, I've put these things in. Better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And at some point I may find ways of implementing these that are lovely. Some of them look absolutely delightful. So if we were to do a power 2 but only out and not in, and then save that, when we come back here and refresh, it snaps. Oh, it starts fast and then glides to an end. Isn't that nice? Don't forget, we're still on slow. So this is slow. You might think, oh, that's never going to work. We need it a bit nippier. So we can come here. Let's make it fast instead. And again, sometimes with an easing, if you set it at really fast, it'll look terrible. But, you know, that's up to you. I've kind of left it flexible rather than trying to work out how to prevent the settings that don't work. So again, doing, so that's nice and quick, isn't it? There's a power, sudden start, but a slow end. And that means it snaps with a single sort of scroll of the wheel to the next position. So that is our snapping. That's pretty much it, really. If you look at all the easings that we had, those are all the different ways in which you can make it snap in and out. And if you change the speed, you have got sleepy, slow, normal, fast, race. So you've got 5 different speeds. And I can't remember, but in combination with all the things you've got there, you've got 3 times to, I don't know, 30 easings or something like that, any of which you can apply to it. And then last but not least, we'll look at the scrolling, just because I don't want it to be sad and lonely. Let's stay at the bottom as well. Let's have a look at racing our scrolling. Now the scrolling just ignores everything. You can set what you like, but it won't take any notice. It is meant to be just a scroll, exactly as if somebody was scrolling up and down the page on a normal website, except it's going left and right. That's it. So you can set what you like, but it won't care. And there we go. If we scroll, you can see, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm just basically doing my force of habit regular thumb flick for scrolling. That was race, so that's really fast. I personally think that's a bit much, because like that's one scroll, but so's that, and it's way too much. So we say, okay, that's probably no good. Let's put it on sleepy, and obviously that's probably going to be too slow, but that's kind of my point. And refresh the screen and go, okay, how does that look? It's kind of sedate, but very nice. So there you are. Okay, so I think that's kind of more or less it, really. You can set your width to each slide. They don't have to be 100 viewport width. I recommend 100 viewport width because it looks nice. And if you make the background to a scroll content, let's go here. Let's scroll contents. Let's get rid of the type of background and let's put in the green color. Because why not, right? So that's a horrifically bright green brand 10. And then we go to our second slide and say, okay, what we're going to do that? We're going to get rid of our ukulele, even though we love it. And again, I'm going to make my color, what was it, 10? And 10, so that's the same color. I mean, probably teaching you to suck eggs here, but if you've done that, then when you come here, it looks like one long slide. So there's not much point in making slides of different sizes, but you can if you want. You can come in here, choose your individual slide, and you've got all the layouts and sizes. As I say, most of, if you look at this, not quite all of the options that you would get with a regular section, but there we are. We've now got a 600 pixel width heading. Probably makes sense for everyone if I make it a different color. And incidentally, quick shout out, notice all these lovely colors and how I can use them, and they're right on my menu, and all the shades. And also if I where are we going, container width, oh yeah, well look, go to Headspin plugin to save it. I haven't actually set up Headspin on this website, I just migrated it from a staging, so I haven't enabled it. But quick shout out to them, because frankly it's a brilliant plugin and saves me ages. So look, we've got 2 different colors. So put a bar, refresh the page, and there you go. Isn't it marvelous? I think, yeah, that pretty much introduces you to the slider. All of the contents for scroll contents, the flex, the background, the gradients, the slideshows, videos. I mean, I really don't recommend you go too mad, because less is definitely more, but it is nice that if you feel like it, you can go a little bit crazy. And then, yeah, you can make it look fancy as add a shape divider, angle 1. There you go. So I've got a shape divider, and that will now be part of my slide. I can change it to something a bit. There you go. If I do that and make it 100% height, save. Then when I go to the front and scroll, it now looks a bit like it goes off the screen. Because it's not the same size. I just made that up, so I quite like that. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really. That's the scroll slider. I saw about a dozen people ask for it on the Facebook page, and I thought, well, I've always wanted to learn Element Studio, so this is the first element I have been able to make with Element Studio, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, and it will make your websites look all super and smashing. Thank you for watching.